Yeah, I've came to the conclusion, man, that this dude is trying to sell a book. Yeah, he trying to sell a book, or he clout chasing. Now, if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, Jason Williams has been making headlines, and quite naturally so. Somebody probably got in his ear and said, you know, uh, in order for you to get attention, you got to be controversial, because even bad attention sells. Controversial attention sells too. But when you just outright just clout chasing, it gives us even more of a reason not to take you seriously. We know you trying to sell a book, or at least coming out with one. And that's what I don't get. Like all these stars, man, they coming out with all this stuff that they have to say, and Charles Oakley and all these former players saying what they need to say. Scottie Pippen, knowing damn well they they don't mean a big percentage of the stuff that they say. Some of it they might mean. Now with Jason Williams, we talked about it before. He talked about Kobe. Uh, this is what he had to say about Jordan. He said pretty much that Jordan, he would be an all-star, but he wouldn't be as good in this era because of the defense that he faced and everything. Now, I want to give a shout out to the brother Too Raw for TV, because he's already talked about this on his channel. And for any of the other brothers that talked about it too, shout out to y'all too. Let's just dissect this first before I get to Shaq. Okay, now what he had to say about Shaq, he said Shaq wouldn't be the dominant force that he is in this era today. I'll get to that in a minute. But when it comes to Jordan, even the ones that really didn't respect Jordan, or well, I'm not gonna say respect. They really didn't like Jordan like that. They didn't. They weren't a fan of his. They'll tell you that Jordan could actually thrive in today's game. And you got to think about it. You like guys were holding you, guys were hand checking you, guys were riding your hip, and guys were playing a lot more physical. Especially when we talk about the '80s, the '90s, not so much. It was still physical, but it wasn't as physical as the '80s or maybe even the '70s. But you got to remember that I don't know why everybody keeps saying that they didn't run a zone. They didn't run run like right outright, but there was a thing called a floating zone in Detroit. The Detroit Pistons were notorious for that. They were notorious for running a floating zone on Jordan and a couple other teams, but mainly it was Detroit. And also, the reason why Jordan would be successful in today's game, I'm not. Some people say that he would average about 50. Some people say about 45. Um, I would say around that. between 45 and 50. He'll average that much because you can't touch him. And people forget that Michael Jordan ran a 4.3, so he was fast, quick, and athletic. So for you to sit up there and say that Jordan wouldn't be able to be the star that he is or be as successful as today, Jordan could break down a defense. That's what made him the player that he was. He was able to single handedly break down defenses. That's why they had to do certain things and use certain schemes to try to get a hold of Jordan. But I'll say this though. In a one-on-one situation, he'll blow right past his defender. Because one thing that you had to respect about Jordan, he wasn't going to sit there and do all that dribbling. And see, that's why, like, a lot of people, they try to get into this comparison to Kyrie Irving and all this other stuff. Yeah, he wants to be in the front office, but I mean, you really think that a guy like him is going to change Sacramento? Absolutely not. His intellect. there- Listen, True Rob brought up a good point, Trey Cater. And salute to you, True Viking. I see you in the building, sweetie. True Rob brought up an excellent point. Everybody always talks about like Russell Westbrook not having a high basketball IQ and uh, he's not the smartest player and all this other stuff. Neither was Jason Williams. Jason Williams was a turnover machine. He wasn't an intelligent point guard. Like a John Stockton or like a Chris Paul, even a Isaiah Thomas or even a Magic Johnson. He had one of the worst assist to turnover ratios. And you want this guy in the front office? Yeah, he got a ring, but in the later stages of his career, just like Jason Kidd, but and even Jason Kidd. See, Jason Kidd is suited to be a head coach or in the front office. Chris Paul is suited to be a head coach or in the front office. Isaiah Thomas is suited to be a head coach or in the front office, not Jason Williams. Not Jason Williams. Now, if you want somebody that's going to be there, maybe I would say maybe as an announcer or like a controversial figure or something like that, then yeah, okay, I can see that. But somebody that is going to be in the front office, see, hell, listen, a guy like Dirk Dirk Nowitzki, that's why they brought him on as an advisor because they know that Dirk is the kind of guy that stays with the organization. This guy was bouncing around the league, uh, turnover machine. Did did not did not know what he was doing in terms of running a structure, offense. Don't get me wrong, man. He was an exciting player to watch, but I mean, you can't take him seriously. Him saying stuff like, Jordan wouldn't be as dominant today. Well, he wouldn't be as good as he was today. Stuff like that. Come on, man. Nah, player development. Hey, Trey Cater. you got a better chance of him being a player destruction. But like I say, one thing I won't do, and Trey Cater, you know my channel. I won't call nobody on here trash. I won't say you know what I'm saying. I won't call them trash. But if you go back and you go look, see, that's why like when they sit up there and they listen. I would rather have a guy like Sean Marion. I have a guy like Sean Marion in the front office. What's up with it? What's up with it, Stephen Green? I see you in the building, man. UNC got UCLA, man. We'll talk about that later, man. Hey, Stephen Green, St. Peter's, man. Hey, you called it, man. We'll talk about it though. We gonna talk about that, man. I'm gonna talk about the college today because you know what, my squad got to play today, man. Oh yeah, I'm ready for it, man. That's why I'm trying to hurry up and get all this stuff out of the way so I can hurry up and get done. But you said LeBron James can be a general manager, head coach in the future. Well, I would see him more as an owner. Um, because he would be better. He would be more suited like as like maybe an owner. Because whether you want to believe it or not, as good as a businessman as LeBron is, and as good as an investor he is, he's also a shrewd businessman too as well. He's also shrewd as well. I'm gonna drop the link for y'all so y'all can come in here. I'm gonna invite y'all in or whatever. I haven't. I've been so busy, out and about. But to get back to Sean Marion though, I would rather have Sean Marion in the front office than I would Jay Will. Because like Sean Marion, he had a high win percentage, uh, had the highest win share in some or one of them. He's a top five in multiple categories in Suns history, like I mentioned before. And the guy is a champion, something that you can never take away. And look, I know Jay Williams is a champion, but Sean Marion is a humble guy, and also Sean Marion did what was necessary for the betterment of the team, and he always did that. He always did that. It took White Chocolate a while for him to understand that. Listen, I put it to you like this: if he'd have toned down his game while he was playing with a guy like uh like Chris Webber, I mean, they just think about what they could have done. Like if he could have cut down on the turnovers, uh, been a little less erratic, and shot a little bit better, because you got to realize he didn't shoot a high percentage from three either. Maybe so. Maybe we would be having a different conversation. But nah, he wouldn't pan out in the front office. And the Kings, I mean, they going through a lot of stuff. I mean, the owner got his daughter is pretty much giving his daughter the keys to the organization. I forget his name. I can't pronounce his name or whatever. I think they're Persian or something like that. I don't know. But to get back to what I was saying though, uh, double teams and triple teams. That's what Jordan was notorious for facing. Uh, Kobe, elite scorers like him, they were used to facing that type of defense. And like I said before, he rarely faced one-on-one defense. So in an era like this, uh, I believe that being that it's less physical, and him getting to the paint with regularity, and the fact that everybody's so predicated on the 3 point shot and everything like that, he'll be able to like what you're saying about like a guy like John Morant. You gotta look at something like that. Like a guy like John Morant. You know, he gets to the paint with regularity. They say that he's not he can't shoot and he can't do this and he can't do that. But you don't understand how quick and how fast and how explosive John Morant is. And look, I'm not trying to make no comparison. I'm not trying to say that John Morant is Michael Jordan or nothing like that. But you got to place Jordan in that situation about what he would be able to do. And I believe that because he had one of the fastest and quickest first steps ever. And then on top of that, when you talk about defense, I mean, let's just talk about the defensive side of the ball. I keep going time and time again, man. You got a guy, that had a lot of defensive all team all NBA first team defense. I mean, that's what his calling card was. Led the league in steals, had a defensive player of the year award. Like, I mean, this guy would be a tenacious defender. So, check this out. He would probably stand out, and they would be talking about him like they talk about a guy like a Kawhi Leonard or even Paul George, before the injury and stuff like that, as one of the best two-way players to play, or even Jimmy Butler to a certain extent. Could you imagine Jordan doing being a defender that he was, even with Scottie Pippen? He would be a very tenacious. I mean, he would have a field day with a lot of that. A lot of the players today, and I don't think Klay Thompson gets enough credit for a two-way player that he is either. But we could go on and on. That's his opinion. We that's definitely his opinion because we know that's not a fact. Now let's talk about Shaq, right? Now I don't think people like he sat up there and he said Shaq would not be as dominant today because they would be collapsing on him and all this other stuff. This is this is from an article that I read. Okay, the Shaq that was in LA, that was the dominant force that he was. If you're talking about like conditioning wise and him getting up the floor and using the season to get into shape and all that other stuff, the lazy Shaq, then you might have an argument there. You may have an argument there. Okay. But if you're talking about a Shaq that was at LSU, Orlando Shaq, young Orlando Shaq, that could dribble the ball, get up and down the floor and everything, then that Shaq would be. I think he would be somewhat successful today. Now to say that he would completely dominate. Now I think a player that would probably be more suited, like in terms of a big man today, would be a guy like a David Robinson or even a Hakeem Olajuwon because they were finesse and skilled, more like the big man that played today. Even a Kareem. Come on, man. But Shaq was skilled. I don't think a lot of people give him a lot of credit. about him being as skilled as he was because he got so dominant. He got so dominant. You're talking about a three-time Finals MVP, you know, consecutively. There was nobody could, in their right mind that would be able to handle him. So that Shaq right there, okay, a Shaq that would be in shape, an in shape Shaq, a Shaq that a Shaq that was mobile down up underneath. People think that Shaq all he did was dunk 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 dunk. No, that wasn't the case. Now was he the best rim protector? No, he wasn't. He wasn't the best rim protector. He wasn't. He wasn't as good as a rim protector like a Dikembe Mutombo or Alonzo Mourning or even a David Robinson. But see, I think a guy that would be more suited for today's game is a guy like David Robinson. What's up with it, Matt Moses? I see you in the building. It would be a guy like David Robinson. You know, even a guy like Ralph Sampson or somebody like that because those guys are highly skilled. Like if you look at the way that Miles Turner plays, Miles Turner can hoop, man. I got a chance to see Miles Turner up close and in person. Miles Turner is very skilled, but you might say, "Oh man, why are you mentioning Miles Turner?" Man, this guy is unbelievable. And even when when you talk about mobile bigs that are defensive, like defensive bigs or whatnot, like a Jared Allen, guys like that, guys that are really going to meet you at the rim, so to speak. I mean, you would have to be in good shape and good condition to try to compete with that. And Shaq would have to be more durable. You see what's happening with AD now. You see that durability is very important. But I don't believe Shaq like an older Shaq. He wouldn't be as successful as today. But if you're talking about condition wise, because you got to remember, man, he would come into the season hurt, sometimes, and then guys were complaining too about him using the season to get himself in shape and stuff like that. That wouldn't pan out well for him, especially when this is a perimeter orientated league and a guard orientated league now. Hell, a lot of these teams they just run small ball. You'll see it. You'll see it all the time. Yeah, the such and such are running small today, or something like that. You didn't have that back in the days. If anything, they would take the Don Nelson route. We have several guys that are 6'9" and 6'10", stuff like that. They would take that approach as opposed to, you got guys just running small. So I think in that aspect, okay, yeah. But Shaq would take the ball coast to coast. Now he wasn't doing it as consistently because they didn't want the center to handle the ball and handle the rock like that. That was a no-no back in those days. They would sit your ass down on the bench. So that's why like sometimes I don't really like to make these like silly ass comparisons because you got to think about what you could do and what you couldn't do in that particular position. Like for instance, the point guard. The point guard. You pulling up and shooting like a Steph Curry and all that other stuff. You couldn't do that back in the days. Your coach, especially if you were the starting point guard, man, your coach would light you up. You couldn't do that back in the days. So as far as the shooting guard, I don't think that has really. I don't think that has really changed as much. Um, I think you have more, more guards that are more suited for just primarily perimeter, just wanting to shoot the three. Like okay, like a guy like Devin Booker, who everybody been talking about lately, right? Devin Booker, man, the reason why one of the reasons why I like Devin Booker, man, regardless of what anybody wants to say, man, I don't understand why people be hating on him. I kind of feel where the brother Hitman X is coming from, man. I like Devin Booker, even though that he's like not my favorite on the Suns. But Devin Booker, the thing that I appreciate about Devin Booker is the fact that, man, he shoots the mid range. You got to appreciate a guy like DeMar DeRozan, even though he struggles, in particular portions of the entire season, especially the postseason. He's had his he's had his shortcomings. You got to appreciate a guy like DeMar DeRozan. Look, I understand that it's not a high percentage shot, especially in this day and age. Back then, that's what you had to do, though. You had to master the mid range. Even a guy like Kevin Durant, he's mastered the mid range. It can you can make it a high percentage shot if you practice it well enough. Even Kawhi Leonard, he shoots the mid range. So when we're talking about, I don't like to get into these type of like comparisons and stuff like that, because Shaq could have, if he really wanted to, he could have handled the Rock. And you said Chris Middleton and C.J. McCullough, yeah. But Chris Middleton he's not consistent. He's very, very inconsistent in terms of his offense. Now defense, that's a whole nother story. Because I like Chris Middleton on the defensive end, but in terms of his offense, he's a roller coaster ride. Matt Moses, very inconsistent. But C.J. McCullough and C.J. McCullough can be, he could shot jack a lot. He was doing that with Portland a lot. Now he has he improved, yeah, but and even a guy like Bradley Bill. Bradley Bill shoots the mid range a lot too. Uh, a guy like ISO Joe Johnson, he would shoot the mid range with regularity. But I mean, for the most part, man, to me, and even Kyrie Irving, he shot, like I mentioned before, Kyrie Irving was 53. I think he was shooting like 50% from mid range and three pointers. It's some guys that still use that mid range as a weapon, but now they look at it's sad because they look at the mid range as if, man, what are you doing shooting that? Sometimes they'll look at you crazy if you're shooting the mid range, especially if you go to the gym nowadays. They'll consider you. They'll classify you as old school. They'll classify you as old school if you shoot the mid range like that, because they think it's such a dinosaur. It's a dinosaur skill or something like that, as opposed to guys jumping out of the gym or shooting three pointers. I mean, pulling up from 40 and all this other stuff. Uh, but I'm just like this, man. Everybody likes to get all technical with it, man. As long as you knocking that motherfucker down, that's just that's my opinion. That's why, like, A guy like Devin Booker. Even Chris Paul. He tends to shoot the mid range a lot. He doesn't care what anybody say. You call him old school if you want to, but that's why I had CP3 above um, Devin Booker in terms of the MVP race. I mean, it wasn't just a mid range, but it was just what he had brought to the table. But if you look at what Chris Paul used to do, he do the stop and pop or whatever. I mean, he's money a big percentage of the time. He's money. But nobody's taking this guy, Jason Williams, serious. I'm not taking him serious. I'm definitely not going to take a guy serious that pretty much, not that there's nothing wrong with lighting them up and smoking and hitting the loud and everything like that, but I'm definitely not going to take a guy serious that really wasn't focused on his game like that. And he's not one of the greats either. He's great in terms of being turnover prone, yeah. But can you really define him as a great point guard? No, you can't. Now he made it to the league. You know what I'm saying? I give him that. But I'm not taking that guy serious. Listen, he's clout chasing. He's trying to sell a book. He's doing whatever necessary to get the attention on him, and that's what he wants to do. And he wants to try to, and one could argue that he's doing everything that he can to diminish his own era as opposed to this era. I mean, that's just an argument. There ain't no proof there. But I'm not taking that guy serious. What can you say that Jason Williams has done besides ride the pine in Miami and go ahead and get a championship? And besides just making the league and maybe a few highlights that he had once upon a time. Or get a name, get a name like White Chocolate. What else can you say you done? But you're talking about, okay, when you talk about Shaq, and I'm gonna close on this right here, and I'm gonna put the icing on the cake. Look, you're talking about a three-time Finals MVP, and yeah, I've already talked about that, Matt Moses. You gotta go listen to my other videos, man. Yeah, I've been talking about the docu series, and I'll repeat it right now for you. Okay, listen, go watch the docu series for Winning Time. You know, Magic Johnson. To me, Magic Johnson is not my character that I really like that they're talking with when we're talking about consistency in terms of who the when we want to talk about the character that I like is Jerry West. Now some of it is exaggerated, but I think that Jerry West is a big portion. That's why like you got to put Jerry West up there as possibly the most important Laker of all time because it's not only what he did on the court but also what he did on the back end. But Magic, Magic was something else. He was something else. No, no, no. Hey, Matt, man, nigga, you ain't got dog, Matt. I know you be grinding. What's up with it, Jacob? I see you in the building. I know, I know your ass be grinding, bro. Hey, you my nigga. Hey, I'm glad you be coming through. What's up with it, Worm? I see you in this bitch. What's up with it, bro? How you feeling? Listen, I know you be grinding in this bitch, man. You ain't gotta explain shit to me, my nigga. I already know. I do so. I grind just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? All the other brothers around this bitch, man, they grind too. So if you don't come, man, I understand. I know you got your page and you got your channel and stuff like that, man. I'm just happy that you coming through showing love, man. And I know you got stuff going on outside of that, man. It ain't no. I know what it is, man. I don't be putting no gun in nobody's head to, come around here, man. I know y'all be on your grind, but just the fact that you say, hey, what's up? You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So on that note, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here, man. Y'all like the video, share it, subscribe, hit them notifications, so that you be notified. Polo Sports Talking Entertainment, man. I'm gonna get at y'all later.